Good morning, good evening, hello, good afternoon. I forgot one of those, Catherine. I forgot the afternoon. Hi.
Yeah.
Uh, what time is it where you are speaking?
1 p.m. in
Oh, yeah.
Almaty. Yeah.
Good
So,
afternoon to you then.
yeah.
Very good.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Look, Catherine, can you introduce yourself? I'm sure people know who you are, but just in case,
Of course.
for the one person.
Of course, yeah. So, my name is Catherine Edelveis. I'm a developer advocate at BellSoft and a YouTuber. So, I generate a lot of content around Java, around Spring Boot, around containers. So, tutorials, videos, guides. I sometimes do conference talks and regularly have live streams on CyberJar, our YouTube channel with Java stars to talk about the latest and greatest in the world of Java. So,
I love it. I'm a big fan of all of that, and I'm sitting down right now to write this week in spring. It is Tuesday after all. I'm not doing it right now. I mean, after we're done.
yeah,
But
yeah.
but nonetheless, I look forward almost every week. I learn something from your channel or from BellSoft or
Oh, thank
a
you,
lot of
Josh.
times from your content as well. So very, very, very good. Um, okay, so Catherine, it's 1 in the morning here. One of the things that keeps me up at night is the idea that our users are not running secure code. Now, for people who don't know, um, obviously every engineering team does their level-headed best to ensure that the software that you eventually consume is as secure as possible. But things have certainly changed, haven't they? I mean, recently with the arrival of frontier models, and sometimes not even frontier models, just regular old AI models, they're finding CVEs at an alarming rate. And so, obviously, to the extent that I can get better support there, better secure support, I want that. Obviously, on the Spring side, we have you can get support from us for Spring itself after the open source support has expired. But what can I do to harden the stuff around it, right? Obviously, if I'm using a platform like Cloud Foundry, there'll be support there. But what if I'm just running my own containers? And I use uh, I don't write my own Docker files. Okay, you looked at me. You looked at me with hesitation and shame, like maybe I had done something wrong. No, no, I'm not writing Docker files, but you know, I use build packs. Is there any way to make that? Well, first of all, what is build packs? And then second of all, is there any way to make that better?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Just let's start from the beginning, right? Of your concern about running more secure workloads. Yeah, you mentioned correctly that with all the frontier models of AI and with LLMs and with all the stuff that is happening now in software development, the security is now not a privilege or not some whimsical thing or just a way to make your enterprise more compliant, but it's a necessity, right? It's something absolutely essential to make your workloads more secure. And with the CVEs that have always been discovered quite rapidly, and now they are discovered at an alarming pace, uh, to fight this whole CVE flow is manually almost impossible for any enterprise,
Mhm.
right? Because, for example, you packaged your beautiful application or beautiful application, right? You have
Thank
a
you.
container image, yeah, and then you scanned it and you found numerous CVs, like 600 CVs, for example. That's the number for the average container image. It contains 600 CVs.
Really?
Yes,
Wow.
it
How
is. Like,
how do we get that number? That's incredible.
that's a very alarming statistics, right? And
Wow.
so you get these hundreds of CVs, and you don't know where they come from. So there's a whole pile of them, and then you think, all right, okay, we have a release tomorrow. What are we going to do? And then the engineers spend their days, weeks on trying to patch the CVs or find the patch for the CVs. And then meanwhile, the workloads run vulnerable dependencies vulnerable base images, or
Mm-hmm.
you delay the release if there is some very critical vulnerability. And with every month, with every release, this situation repeats. So this is the vicious circle of CVs. And of course, building on a more secure foundation will help you get rid of, well, most of them, right? Because if you use some very outdated base image, runtime image from Docker Hub, of
Right.
course, you will have like tons of CVEs out there because
Right.
it's not updated anymore by anyone
Right.
or updated randomly, right? So you may even have like zero CVEs or maybe a couple of CVEs in your application dependencies, and then you just upgrade the Spring dependencies, right? And then you're good to go. But then the base image CVEs stay, right? And the application developers have to somehow deal with these patches, although that's not their responsibility. I
Right.
mean, as an application developer, you want to deal with the application, with its dependencies, with the code, right, to make them more secure, but not with the base image. You don't turn into the uh, amateur Linux or Java runtime maintainer, right? That's not how
Right.
it works. So
Hopefully,
yeah,
yeah. It's hard enough to get one thing right, you know. Imagine all these other things.
yeah, yeah. So and with the moving then forward to the next part of your question, how can we make our workloads more secure? And then you mentioned that you don't write your own Docker files.
No.
I did not look at you with shame. Maybe I just thought about something else. But I applaud you actually, because Docker files are not always the best way to containerize your applications. And then
Right.
there are two packs. That's the alternative solution and the
Mm-hmm.
alternative way, but it's also the alternative philosophy to building the container image, right? So we have Docker files and we have build packs, two absolutely established, relevant technologies. Everything's good, but we have two different philosophies in here. So, and the main question is not whether you need to choose Docker files or build packs. The question is how much of the build process do you, as a developer, want to control, right? So, and with the Docker file, we are in full control, right? So we
Right.
choose our base images, we install additional packages if we need to, then we integrate the best security practices along the way, like running the container as non-root, for example, right? As
Right.
one of these practices. And we can do that on our own. And of course, with a Docker file, we can create a perfectly secure minimal container image. We can do that. But the problem begins when there are tons of Docker files, right? So a dozen of Docker files, for example, in each of them belongs to a separate team, right? And then you have to somehow verify that, validate that these Docker files are written following the same standard. And you have to depend on each individual developer who writes this Docker file to have the exact expertise in writing a good Docker file
Right.
to make the container more secure. And build packs take away part of this headache, and they also take away the headache of updating the workloads, but that's another part of the story. So let's start with actually building the container image, right? So with build packs,
Right.
that's pretty straightforward. You take the builder, and with a Spring Boot, you don't even need to add anything to your project because build packs with Spring are supported by default, right? So you just run one single command and you already get a production ready container image
Wow.
without the need for a Docker file. You don't need to choose the base image. You don't need to layer your image, right,
Right.
to make the updates more uh, fast, right? You don't need to keep in mind that JDK is for compiling and JRE is for running, right? You don't need
Right.
to make sure manually that all the build tools stay in the build image and your run image only contains tools that your application needs to run. You don't need to do that because build packs do that for you, right?
Right.
They choose the necessary builder, they detect your application source code. You don't need to install the environment on your machine, right? Because build packs do that for you. and then they give your container image. And already, by the way, with some security practices applied by default, right? So one of them, as I mentioned, is that the image is contains only the essential tools for running the
Right.
application, right? So it's already minimized than as compared to what just taking the JDK and putting it in production, right? On the one
Right.
hand. On the other hand, the build packs run and use the non-root user by default, which is a more secure practice, right? Because running the workloads as non-root helps to minimize the risk of some possible attacks like container escape, something like that, right? So that's a non-root. And then the build packs also generate the software bill of materials by default, right? So you get your container image, and then there's already the software bill of materials, which is demanded by many US and European regulations. And
Right.
not only that, maybe the Asian regulations as well, international anyway, right? And so you get this SBOM, you don't need additional tooling, and you don't need to manually generate the SBOM. You don't need to manually add any dependency to generate it. You already get it by default. So this is already something very, very cool. And
Right.
all of that out of the box, right? You don't need to do anything about that.
Right. And
And
you
then,
can,
yeah.
and it's one of those things you can upgrade easily as well, right? Because it's just a version.
Yes, exactly. And that's another point with the build packs, because the upgrades are easier, much easier, right? Because with the Docker files, you use like maybe 10 Docker files, for example, or 20, right? And then
Oh,
all of them use different base images, they use different tags, they use different build processes, configurations. They're very different, right?
yeah.
And then, for example, a CVE emerges, right? And then you have this question: okay, where exactly, which workloads are affected, which Docker files should be updated? Then the platform team specifies that, okay, this and this Docker file needs to be updated if they find, right, the workloads, affected workloads. But then again, it depends on the team. So some teams update weekly, some teams update only when the application updates, some teams update like maybe once in 3 months, and so on. So
Oh,
you cannot
I've got
guarantee.
to, I've got to tell you, you've said a lot of things that have make me very, very, very ill at ease. First, you suggested the idea we have what it was it like a dozen different Docker images, which is, and then the idea of updating only once a week is also equally terrifying. Anyway, sorry,
Yeah.
just hope we should have had a warning label for people so they don't get
Explicit
stressed.
content.
Yeah,
Yeah. Parental advice. Don't watch it before going to bed. I mean,
yeah. Think about me. I'm going to bed soon. It's 1 in
yeah.
the morning.
Oh, sorry about that.
Oh,
Well, yeah,
goodness.
that's a hard topic, yes, but it has to be discussed
It's true.
somehow more, right? So, and then yeah, and yeah, so in like a week or so, it might turn out that some workloads still run vulnerable base images, are still affected by this vulnerability because it was not updated, right? So you don't really control this whole process.
Right.
And build packs help you to standardize that. So you have like a builder that was chosen, that was established as the standard builder that is used in your enterprise, and then the platform team just updates this builder, and then that's it. All that application developers have to do is to run the update on their container images, and that's it. You don't need to wait on them to update the Docker file, right?
Right.
So because the builder is already updated, and you basically get these updates rapidly in a very standardized way, which is very cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I'm happy if I can have the definition of the image in one place, and I'm happy that that thing has its own update life cycle, so I can constantly just be updating that one build pack. I can also create my own, right? I can create a build pack that layers on top of other ones and add
Exactly.
custom bits, but I can still just update that base
Exactly.
very, very easily and and centrally, very importantly, centrally.
Yes, exactly. And build packs and Docker files, again, they are not rivals, right? Yes, they are
No.
different philosophies, but they can coexist because sometimes you have very custom configuration, right?
Yeah.
And for that, you can use image extensions. So build packs provide this support for using Docker
Right.
files for the build image, right? So you have the image extension, you can create your custom build pack. But yes, you're right, Josh. It's all going to be centralized anyway, right? It's not
Yeah.
like everybody's writing a random Docker file just like to fit some small customization.
I do. Maybe it's worth talking briefly about the history, uh, about the history of build packs, and I think it's kind of interesting because it was born originally out of Heroku, right? Heroku is a platform as a service. The input for Heroku, at least historically, was your source code, and so you know, I don't know if we had Linux containers. I don't know if Heroku had Linux containers in the very beginning, but it probably had virtual machines. But the idea was there. I don't know actually. I don't know. But either way, you would give it source code, and it had to turn it into a running image, right?
Yeah.
And so it had to take a Java app, or it had to take a Ruby on Rails app, or Python, or PHP. Ugh, another one that I should not have mentioned so close to bedtime. And it had to take whatever that application artifact is and turn it into a working container, right? And that eventually, we on the Spring team, we brought that into Cloud Foundry, our platform as a service.
Mm-hmm.
Same basic problem, right? We want to
Mm-hmm.
send an application and have it run on the cloud. We don't care how. And eventually, we refactored it, working with Heroku. We created virtual version 3.0, right? And 3.0 is based on containers. It's container, native, and that's the thing we see today. Basically, is this approach. So it's been around for, gosh, I mean, I don't even know, 15 years, 10 years, at
15,
least 10
yeah,
years.
15, I think. 10, that's a minimum. I think 15 is closer
Yeah.
to the truth. Yeah. So build packs have been around for many years, really. And it is established technology. And it is the CNCF project. And it's a graduated CNCF project. Well, recently I
Right.
read the news. So there's no reason to not use the build packs. But I think and by the way, Josh, maybe you have like the hypothesis why so few developers, so few teams actually use build packs.
I just think it's a lack of awareness. I don't know. Do you think there's, I mean, I see enough people using it. If you're using a platform like Cloud Foundry or Roku, you're already using it, whether you know it or not, right? So I guess the question is, are people using it standalone? And I think more people should, right? It's
Yeah.
just such a wonderful, if only because I don't care. I don't even like forget about the security, forget about efficiency and optimizations, all of which come with build packs. I just don't want to write the stupid Docker file, even if it's a simple app, even if it's just Java minus jar. I don't want to write it. I just don't. Leave me alone. So, uh, like this is what I never understood about Google's Jib plugin, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Jib plugin takes a Docker file.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
once you've already written the Docker file, why do I need just having Maven call that step wasn't interesting to me. It's not writing the Docker file in the first place and mapping my world to that, especially since, when it comes to running the application, I don't know what the world looks like. I don't have the whole map of what the world of running a software process looks like. But you know who does when it comes to Java? The Spring team. They have some expertise in running Java and Spring workloads. So that build pack, the Java build pack, is built and informed by the work done by the Spring team. And I assume the same is true for the Ruby build pack for Ruby users. I'm sure it's built, or at least informed by experts in that space. I don't know. That's the idea: is you get the best recipe, the best approach to running workloads of a particular type, so that you don't have to worry about that. It's not just about running a container; it's about running it really well.
Yeah.
Like, does your build pack, does your JVM application need access to observability plugins? Does it need certain configuration variables for Java? Do you need keys in the key store or something? I mean, just all this stuff is all taken care of for you there.
Exactly. I mean, that helps you to shift the security left. This is like infamous shifting left that is hated by
Right.
all developers, right? Without actually giving a additional headache to developers themselves, right?
Right.
The point is in taking these things, right, low level tasks of building the good container image into the standardized environment, and leave developers be with their application, with application dependencies, and when their responsibilities that are there from the start, right? So
Yeah.
again,
When did
um,
we introduce? And by the way, people, as we've talked about already, we've got support for that in Spring Boot, right? You can actually create. When did is it 3.3 or 3.2? Was it like or 2.3? I mean, has it been? It's in the
so
2.x.
build packs have been around
2.3,
in 2 or 3. Wow,
2020.
that's
So we've
yeah,
had for 6 years now,
6 years.
right?
Mm-hmm.
More than 6 years, we've had support. You can just do Maven space spring dash boot colon build dash image, and it'll create a Docker image for you. Um, and that's just, it's already there. It's the amazing technology behind the scenes that does that for you, that creates a container for you by default, unless you do something special, and you don't need to do anything, right? If you just use Spring Boot start.spring.io, you can already use build packs. That's
Yeah, but even some things are taking care of build packs, some specific tasks, like for example, AOT cache, right?
mhm,
CDS. So first you could use the CDS. Right now it's the AOT cache, as far as I remember. And that's just one property, right? And that's it, one flag.
right,
Native image, again, just p native, right, build image, and that's it. So build
right,
packs will build the native executable for you. Again, you don't need to do anything about that. Like use J-Link, right?
yeah,
Again, using J-Link. J-Link is a great tool. I love it. It's amazing, and it has
right,
been in Java since Java 9, as far as I remember. So it's been around for many years after the Java was modularized. Yes, and so the
right,
concept of J-Link is to cut out a custom JRE. So go even further, right? JRE is for running the Java application, but even in this case, you don't need all the modules of the JRE for your application specific, right? And you can cut out only those modules that are used by your application. So this way, even smaller attack surface, even a smaller image, like win-win, right? But
right,
using J-Link manually, well, it's kind of a big deal, right? So you have to first analyze which modules your application uses. Yeah, that's just one command, but again, you need that command. And then you
right,
need to specify in your Docker file or wherever, right, these modules manually, again, that you need. And that's, well, that's just additional work, right? And nobody does that. Nobody uses J-Link because that's really a lot of manual work. And then if
right.
something changes, then you change that as well. With build packs, J-Link, using J-Link is just, again, one property. That's it. Use J-Link. That's it. Okay. And you're going to get your custom JRE like that.
I
Because
love
build
it.
packs will do that for you. They will analyze the modules that your application needs. They will cut out the JRE and add only the modules that it needs. Beautiful.
Right.
Absolutely
Ah,
amazing.
so good. So
Yeah.
good. I'm a
So
big fan of just it's the easiest way to bring all these new ideas, these new technologies to production in a safe, well optimized way, which I like. It's, you know,
yeah. Yeah.
ah, well,
Yeah.
okay. So I like build packs. You've sold me on it. I think I'm gonna continue using them. It's a little up in the air before we started, but now I think I'm gonna do it. But you know, back to our original question. Um, you know, what if I do I just use the stock standard open source ones? Why wouldn't I?
Right. So, yeah, you continuing our conversation at this point. So we already established that using build packs is more secure, right,
Yeah.
than Docker files, in a way that gives you a standardized way of building a more secure image with some secure defaults. But you can go further, right? And Josh, have you heard about hardened images as a concept?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. So for those of from our audience who hasn't yet heard of hardened images, just a couple of words about them, right? So what we're talking here about hardened images might be now considered as the new de facto standard for building more secure container images for any application for any programming languages. So
Right.
what's the concept? It's the hardened image, the hardened base image. We're talking about here the base images, although you can do the hardening by yourself, but anyway, it's minimized container image, base image with only the essential packages, again, that your application needs. And that is related both to Linux and the runtime, if the runtime is if needed, right? Maybe
Hmm.
not. For some workloads, it is not needed. So minimized. But not only that, because we had distroless, right? We had slim images. They are also minimized. So what's the point, right? So but minimalistic image is not the only point. Yes, it reduces the attack surface, but when we go
Right.
further with hardened images, so they are immutable. So they don't have the runtime hardened images, don't have the package manager, they don't have the shell, and they don't have any utilities that enable you to install additional packages and additional software into your
Ah,
image. Yeah, so that's what makes them immutable. Of course, you can, if you want to somehow drag the wget into your image and
no,
download
thank you.
something, but then I mean you buy the rocket, for example, and then you build a fountain in this rocket somehow. Okay, spaceship, right? I mean, yes, you can do that technically, but why?
Right.
So that's the same with hardened images. You can technically somehow it violate this its immutability, but then it's not going to be the hardened images anymore. So by default, right, they don't contain the package manager,
Right.
shell, any download utilities. So it's immutable. You don't install any additional packages. And those packages that are already there, the OS packages, and again, runtime if we need that, they contain minimum to zero CVEs. So the maintainer of the family of hardened images makes sure, right, that the image stays free of known CVs,
Wow.
and the maintainer updates the images regularly, right? Whenever the OS patch is available or the runtime patch is available,
Yeah.
then the hardened image is updated, and then that's it. It stays clean. You start clean with zero, almost zero CVs, right, or maybe zero,
Right.
and then you continue clean.
I
Well,
love
as long
that.
as you update your container image as well, right? So that's
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 so good.
that's the point. So yeah, and the hardened images also come with built-in provenance, which is also important for better security, right? So they come with the SBOM, they come with a digital signature, right? So that help you to verify that that was the exactly the image that you have chosen, comes
Right.
from this maintainer, and the provenance data that shows how the image was built and which platform was used, right? So you get already all this data that you can then check in your pipeline, that can you verify in your pipeline, right, to make sure that this is the image that you have chosen, that it was not swapped, right? And then you use this metadata also to check for known vulnerabilities to run the scanners, and for compliance as well, right? Because provenance data is again required by some regulations already. So hardened images, right? To cut the story short, it's not only about minimalism, right? Although they
Right.
are minimal. So it's about immutability. It's about maintenance and responsibility of the maintainer, the commitment of the maintainer to keep these hardened images free of CVEs. And then
Right.
there is, of course, the SLA for patches as a commercial offering. So you have the set of open source hardened images. Some maintainers do that. So, for example, BellSoft, Docker hardened images. There are open source images, right? So you can use them already as it is, not
Right.
patch, but as long as you update your workloads regularly, you get these very clean base images. But then there's the commercial offering for enterprises that need that. right? So you can have the contract with the vendor, and then you get the SLA for patches, right? For
Wow.
some enterprises, that's important. And also the compliance, the very specific compliance requirements like
Right.
PIPS, STIG, and so on, DORA.
Right.
Yeah, it's demanded.
So this is the kind of thing where I think a lot of people, especially right now, I want people to run secure software, but it's even more difficult these days, isn't it? So I'm really
Yeah,
glad to hear about this kind of stuff. I
yeah.
think,
So exactly. And the hardened image helps you to distinguish the responsibilities, to divide the responsibilities, right? So you see exactly, you have the S-bomb, right? You have your scan, and you see, okay, this is the base image. It has
mhm,
like low to zero CVEs, and if there is some CVE, that then you ask the maintainer to patch it, and then there are application CVEs, and that
right,
is the responsibility of the developers, right? So you divide these two fields very clearly, right? And that's also takes off the burden of from the engineers that don't need to uh, patch or invent the patch for the code that they did not write, right? The always
right.
code that code.
So for me, I think this is a great time in this moment in the ecosystem is a great time for people to remember build packs because at least you have a clean single place to change these things and to worry about these things, and then also the availability of, as we talked about, hardened images
Yeah.
that make it even easier.
But
Um,
then the next question
yeah.
arises, how do we combine these two, right? So right
Oh.
now, these are two separate concepts as we discussed them. There are hardened images. You can use
Hmm.
them in the Docker file, right? And there are build packs. You don't choose in the build pack, you don't choose the OS, right? You don't choose something that is already there at the core, right? So if the build pack uses Ubuntu,
Hmm.
you cannot change that, and you of course cannot just point to any random base image that you choose, because then that's eliminates the whole point of build packs, right? So right now we have
Hmm.
two separate concepts, and we of course want to unify them, right? We want
Right.
to have the build packs as our preferred way of containerizing, and we want to have hardened images because they are super secure. They give you maximum reliability, maintainability, and all the goodies that you want to from your base images. So now we want to befriend them,
Right.
right? That would be great, wouldn't it?
Right.
Just
Of
want to
course.
do that. Okay, so and we at BellSoft, we have noticed right away this demand from engineers to somehow make these technologies into one, right? Make one powerful solution. So as soon as we released our BellSoft hardened images, and we started talking about them, then the questions came, right? So do you do then the build packs also with the hardened images? Because we provide the build packs as well. So Liberica GDK, well, first of all, is used by default in Spring Packet build
Mm.
packs. So if you use build packs with your favorite Spring Boot application, then
Right.
the GDK is going to be there by default, right? Which is cool, of course. And we have our own build pack, also the Packet build pack. You can specify that in your Maven or Gradle plugin again, and it uses, instead of Ubuntu, it uses Alpaquita, our own minimal OS. And so the container image even smaller, even cleaner, and all the goodies, right? And you can choose between muscle libc and glibc, right? And then, of course, the questions started arising, right? So if you do the build packs and if you do the hardened images, do you do then maybe the build packs with the hardened images as the base? Well, that's quite a logical question, right?
Right.
And that would be the next step in the evolution of our products. And then that's it. After several months of working on that, we have released last month the hardened builder for Paketo build packs. And finally, we have this solution that developers were asking for, hardened images that are used as the base for the build packs. And now you have two, right? You take one and you have two. you use build packs, and then the hardened BellSoft images are used there by default. That's it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. This is exciting. I'm excited. Where do people learn more about this? Where do they go to get the details?
Yeah, so I can give the link. Can I give the link
Please
or something? Yeah. Okay. So I
send me
can
a
give
text
it.
message or put it in the chat or whatever.
Yeah. So right, I have the article on the introduction to hardened build packs. So describes briefly what they are, what we do there, and how to start with them. And also, these build packs are available on Docker Hub, so you can browse our BellSoft repository on Docker Hub and read more about them, and choose the hardened images if you're there, if
Okay.
you're still thinking about build packs or Docker files, right? So you can choose something. And yeah, I guess that's it.
Okay, let me paste these URLs. Give me 1 second here.
Yeah.
Okay, there's so much good stuff here. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, so
Okay,
you can build applications with for Java, right? So
there's
build packs
that.
support Java, GraalVM native image, Python, Go, Node.js, and Ruby. So you can unify
Okay,
your stack on this builder.
so good. There we are. All right, Catherine. Finally, as we wind down here, as we close down, 3 questions, the same 3 questions as always. Are you on the internet? Do you want to be found? And where can people find you? The chat's not ignored. Sorry, I think you figured out it was somebody's asking, is the chat ignored? It's not. The person asked if the topic is Spring Boot 4, and then the person, I think, looked like they figured out that we were talking about build packs from 2.3. And then and the links are on the video.
Yeah. So yeah, I am on the internet, and yes, I want to be found. Please find me if you have any questions about that, about me, about the build packs, about JDK, Java. Some questions about Spring Boot I can also answer. Like, for example,
Okay.
right now I'm doing the video on a migration from Spring Boot 3 to 4. Right,
Cool.
so it's going to be on CyberJar in several weeks, and I also have the new video. It's going to be on CyberJar as well, like in a week on Spring Data GPA. So let me just give you the link to CyberJar. We have like tons of content, and we have the stream with Josh, by the way, on CyberJar.
Yeah.
And Josh was our guest, and
Loved
with
it.
Sean as well, with the Rod we talked about in Babel. So we do streams all the time. That's a CyberJar. And also my LinkedIn. So just let me paste that also. It's my profile. Right. So you can ask me any question. I'm open to collabs, right? So if you want to do something cool, to talk about something cool, then again, drop me a note. We can write an article. We can do the demo. We can do the live stream.
Awesome.
I'm all up for all the exciting stuff. Yeah.
Thank you, Catherine. As
Yeah.
always, I appreciate you. Um, you have
Thank
a
you, Josh.
wonderful day, my friend.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. That's a great honor, and yeah, thank you. Always a pleasure.
Thanks. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night. Good night.